well. So yeah, excited to have everybody jumping in from Startup Grind Boston and beyond. And this is part of our, I'm going to mute everybody to start, but definitely feel free to unmic and ask questions along the way. So yeah, this is part of the Startup Grind Boston chapter events. We're one of several hundred chapters around the world. Startup Grind started out in Silicon Valley about 12 or 13 years ago now. And it started really with the founder, Derek Anderson's mission to bring in speakers he could learn from as a founder himself, other entrepreneurs, experts in particular industries and sectors, investors, really anybody could have a conversation with or that could lead a workshop and really support the community of founders around him. And then the idea and the concept caught on, and now there's several hundred communities and regions from the US to Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, really across the globe, and South America as well, really embracing this idea of learning from each other, connecting as a community, and being able to support each other in each of our ventures. So yeah, excited to bring you the event here today. We have two other partner groups we're working with to help support this as well, including Boston New Technology, which showcases, does startup showcase events and also webinars and workshops around the Boston area, and Prepare for VC, which runs a mix of individualized and cohort-based programs, as well as community support for startups. So yeah, really excited. I'm gonna put a brief introduction in the chat where everybody can also use that to share a little bit about what you're working on, share, any questions, and engage there along the way. And I'm gonna turn this over to Sebastian. I had the honor of being part of one of his recent mindset conferences, and really excited about all of the mission, the great mission and value he's providing. And we had talked about doing something a little bit different here, where it's not going to be your traditional like workshop where everything, all the information is more at you. This will be yeah, it'll be pretty interactive, so would love to see everybody participate and engage along the way. And yeah, Sebastian, I'll turn it over to you for your introduction and to take us away here.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jason, and welcome everybody. For just a quick housekeeping item. So Jason will pin me for the recording, so you don't have to worry about your hair, your makeup, whether you're eating along the way or anything else. But to make this somewhat more personal, I would love for you to just join us with a camera as well. It gives me a bit of facial feedback on everything I'm doing as well. So would love for you to do that, because what I'm going to show you today is hopefully an experience that will take you down to get rid of any notion that you want to try and get rid of your imposter syndrome, wherever you might feel that you have it, and instead actually grow it to fully rise into your power and take yourself and your business to the next level. So I see a few faces coming on. Thank you for that. And since our time here is limited today, I have an invitation afterwards if you want to go deeper and invest in yourself and your most important asset. But what I don't want to do today is share a whole lot of information. Rather, I've prepared the main part of this to be an experience to take you through, to give you a bit of space, reflect, and actually integrate some of the things that likely you will already know. Now, I appreciate that this is a Startup Grind event, and still you just never quite know who's in the room, right? So I have about half of you on camera, half of you off camera. So let's use the chat for this if you would. So how many of you are actually entrepreneurs or founders? Put an E or an F in the chat for me, if you will, just to give me a sense of who's playing here today. So an E or an F if you're actually an entrepreneur or founder. Okay. And let's see, who do we have? Got an E from Michaela. All right. Okay. Everyone else, feel free to join in, and also let me know where you're at. Are you a solopreneur, which is quite all right? Then put a 1 for me in the chat. If you're like myself, for the most part, at least, still sort of in the startup phase and the solopreneur phase. Put VC for me if you're already building your team and looking to get venture capital, looking for 2. There we go. All right. Thanks for that, Scott. Awesome. And if you're already in the space of, no, I have funding, I'm looking to scale, put an S for scale. So it's 1 for entrepreneur in the sense of solopreneur. VC, if you're right in this stage, right, of already building your team and looking for additional capital input. And then if you already have funding and you're looking to scale, let's go there. Okay, I see mostly 1s, which is awesome. And all the way over up to S for scale as well. Awesome. Now, how many of you would like to tap into your peak performance more consistently? Anyone who would like to be more consistent, right? In being in that flow, in the peak performance? Yep. So a few hands, thank you. I think we'll just do that for a bit. The chat might scare you off otherwise. And how many of you would like to learn some strategies to deal better with that insidious voice in your head that says, who are you to do this? Yep. Thanks for just sharing that. John saw that hand, and right. And how many of you would like to create, some habits that not only improve your performance, but all major relationships in your life? Anyone? All right. Okay, cool. Awesome. Now, I work with a lot of founders and entrepreneurs and leaders. And the one thing I've noticed is that most of us are striving and are driven. And, we're seen as doers, shakers, drivers. But deep down, there's often something that in our heart of hearts, we know that if we did this one thing, it would really move our business forward, that main relationship in our lives forward. And somehow we're still avoiding that thing. Yeah. At the same time, when we do accomplish things, the things that everybody applauds us for, we're often not quite feeling that satisfaction, right? Or if we do feel it, it often doesn't last. Can you relate? Okay. So what if you could move beyond that fear and take empowered action more consistently? What if you could learn to recession-proof your mind and grow your business amongst this turmoil that is ahead, and at the same time, improve your major relationships, first and foremost, with yourself, to find more flow, more ease, more balance, more happiness? That be worth your time for the next roughly hour or so? Yep. Then let me share with you real quick why I'm here. See, my imposter, I dubbed him Mr. Perfect. And for the better part of 35 years, I had no idea that it was him driving me. If you had met me in my 20s and even before as a teen, I was somebody driven. If I set out a goal, I accomplished it. And if you'd ask me why, I said, that's because I don't have emotions. And you would have said, Sebastian, everybody has emotions. And I said, no, I don't effing have them. And it was true. I was pretty much disconnected from it. I was proud of it. I mean, nothing got in the way. Here I was going. What I didn't really admit, even to myself for the longest time, was how much effort that really took, maintaining that, right, outside appearance. And it was with my 3rd child on the way that I realized something was really wrong, because I was not excited. I had the 6-figure job. I had the house. I had on the outside everything. And still, something just didn't sit right. Something was missing. And there was always this lingering, what if, this time I screw up? What if this time I finally fail? For me, the main shift came with a guided meditation that all of a sudden put me in touch with emotions I never even knew I had. And those stemmed from very early childhood. It was that moment after, when I looked in the mirror, that I knew, wow, that's powerful. It's what I want to do for other people. And then I thought, I finally made it. I finally got to myself. I went and I learned rapid transformational therapy, and I cured the little child inside that was hurt, and that was all that. And I thought, okay, here we go. Next thing I know is that imposter showing up again, right? Mr. Perfect, still haunting me. Finally, I went out and took the leap and started my own business as a coach. And by then I'd gone through hours and hours of coaching, learning all kinds of things. And I had realized I'm not the only one who's outwardly successful and inwardly feeling numb and disconnected. I was helping other people with their issues, and still I became more aware of my own rather than actually having handled them. And I went on. I mean, I had NLP sessions that cured my inner child, and for a moment, everything was bliss. And every so often, I would find myself right back dealing with the same again. Eventually, I realized it's never going to go away because it's hardwired. And that was a freeing moment. And you know why? Because it meant there's nothing wrong with me just because I have this voice of doubt in my head. There's nothing wrong with me just because there is that voice that says, well, who are you to do this? No, that's hardwired in us. And everyone I'm dealing with, it didn't matter at what level, when they get real honest about it, they have it too. Because those of us humans who don't have it probably didn't get to propagate, probably didn't survive, right? It's this survival brain where it comes from. We'll dive into that in a minute. I'm here telling you, I don't have a silver bullet for you. I don't have the way to make it magically disappear. If I did, I'd probably be making billions of it. I'm building my own business. And yes, Mr. Perfect, my imposter, still shows up almost every day. But what I do have is the mental muscle to take charge of that internal board of directors meeting that is going on up here all the time, and to politely tell them to sit down and join the team or shut them up. And that's a skill that you can learn. And rather than sharing a whole lot of information with you about it today, I want to walk you through a bit of a reflection space in which you can already make some headway into what drives your imposter so that you can start addressing it. Is that cool with everyone? Yeah? All right. Then let's get started right away. Let me share. Jason, can I share something? Do I have permission?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, awesome. Then just for starters, let me have you take just a real quick look at where are you at. So think of your intention for joining this workshop, the situation that is most pressing for you, the one that is, what really drove you here. And then take a look. Are you feeling stuck? And share with me in the chat, if you will. Are you feeling stuck? Meaning there's a sense of overwhelm, numbness, a frustration, this feeling of, I don't even know where to start. Or you're saying, you know what? No, I've been already working on this. I'm aware of some of the issues going on. I know what I'm dealing with, and I'm struggling to get past it. You might even look at it as this situation where you somehow feel comfortable and things are going all right, but you have this very distinct sense that there could be more. Right? If only you would actually get to that next level. Or are you actually thriving? Are you enjoying peak performance and energy, taking consistent action, right? Are you clear on purpose and vision? Are you relationships where you want them to be and money flows and you're here to, well, keep doing what you've been doing and grow at a very high level? Where are you at with respect to your business or the intention that brought you here today? You know, there's no shame in either. Just take quick stock and take a look for yourself. You're struggling? Are you stuck? Are you thriving? Where are you at? Give me a sense of the temperature in the room, and then I can gear what follows a bit towards that. Let's see, what do we have? All right, I love that. Okay, 70 thrive, 30 struggle, which is a perfect indication of, right? Sometimes we go back and forth. Sometimes it depends on the area we're in. Sometimes it depends on the part of life that you're looking at. All right, cool. And after a period of headbanging, yes, right? There's this whole like, okay, I'm making progress, and then I get to the next level, and then I break through. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Love it, Scott. Perfect. Now, in my experience, there's really, if we wanted to fill a few days with this, that'd be really 4 main pillars we would look at, right? Because to really get to and stay in thriving, you want to build the mental fitness, the ability to disrupt the negative self-talk, the ability to really connect with a part of you that knows, and to self-command, right, in those pressure situations. There is physical intelligence, which is all about what your emotions tell you and how do you keep, let me try that again. How do you take care of your body? How do you maintain the physical prerequisites for peak performance? And there's another key thing, and that is habits. If you say you're not consistent, for example, when it comes to taking actions, if you say, you know, sometimes you start things and you finish and don't finish them, no, we actually all are pretty consistent because we're all creatures of habit. The thing about habits is, though, until you build them consciously, those might be things that you are very consistent with, but that don't serve that place where you're headed to, right? Or the habits that have gotten you here are not the ones that are getting you to the next level. So that's why a lot of the work I do is centered on habits. Now, what we'll look at today and dive a little deeper into is that pillar all around self-leadership. How do you examine the stories that you've created that are essentially determining your habits and your life? Let me put myself just back briefly and bigger for you, because here's the thing. When you want to change anything in your life, usually people go, well, if you want a different result, you got to do something different, right? And so you go, you figure out what to do differently, and then you're all full of optimism and you go at it, and for a week or two, you really maintain it, and eventually it teeters off. Why is that? Well, real quick, here's why. Because your actions are just scratching the surface. How do actions come about? Well, something happens outside, something that you notice, something gets triggered. Either way, it triggers a thought. Very often it triggers a thought that you're not even aware of. That thought leads to an emotional reaction, a response, a feeling. And that feeling triggers what action you take or what action you avoid taking. And all of that often in a fraction of a second. And then, yes, actions lead to results, and results reinforce the thoughts we have. So if you really want to change something permanently, transform something in your life, you want to get to the underlying thoughts and beliefs that you hold about yourselves. I'll guide you into some of those. But first, the title promised you an insight into why, rather than trying to get rid of your imposter, you might want to consider growing that imposter syndrome. And here's my take on why. Fear is actually a good thing. Where does your imposter come from? That self-doubt, right? That fear of failing, that fear of not being good enough. Beneath that is a series of beliefs you hold about yourselves. Before we get to those, let's take a look at fear, though. Why is fear a good thing? Because behind every fear is a desire. A what? A desire. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't feel afraid. If it's something that doesn't bother you, your imposter is all silent, all relaxed, all laid back, right? No doubt, no fear, nothing. So when you do feel this sense of I'm not good enough, or this fear of failure, or that self-doubt, use it as a welcome indicator that you're working on something that matters. And connect to that desire. Check, why am I doing what I'm doing? What's really behind it? What really matters here for me? And then check, are you already thinking big enough? Sure, if you think bigger, if you dream bigger, that sense of fear might increase. And that is an indication that you're connected to an even more powerful desire, right? That's why, if you want to really go big, lean into that fear. Because what did we say? Behind every fear is what? A desire. And you as entrepreneurs all know that's what fuels you, right? Your passion, your impact, what you're going for. Then why do we all feel this doubt, and why do we all have this fear? Why can't we shake it? Because essentially, there's a very simple, deep, old part of the brain that has one job and one job only. Anyone want to guess? What's the main job of your mind? It's to keep you alive. Exactly. And there was a time when we needed that to fend off, saber-toothed tigers and all kinds of things. We don't have that anymore. But that sentry is still out there, still looking for what could go wrong. That is always on guard. Just today, it's dealing with things that don't usually kill us, but it doesn't know that. So it's coming up with all kinds of things that could go wrong. The fact that you're doubting yourself doesn't mean that you're not capable. It just means your survival brain has nothing better to do than deal with this thing at hand and come up with all kinds of things that could go wrong. And remember the pillars, habits. If you haven't paid attention to it before, you've built a habit of listening to it. And then those thoughts create emotions, fear, anxiety, right? And what do? Those determine your actions. Procrastination, avoiding, being busy with things that, sure, keep you busy, but aren't really the things you know you want to be working on. So cut yourself some slack. It just proves that you're human. And then take one thing as a very practical what to do about it. Notice the doubt, notice the thought, and treat that part of your brain like you would treat an overly protective parent. As a teenager, when your mom or your dad said, but be home by 10, don't do drugs, don't hang around the right, what did you do back then? If you were like me, you said, yes, mom, sure, mom. And then you went out and exactly did it anyway. Okay. We're in the habit of thinking that if we have doubt and there's something wrong, there might actually be a reason for it. Well, what if there isn't? What if it's just an overly protective parent that is very worried about what you might do and you treated it the same way? So grow your imposter syndrome by actually making that desire even bigger. Yeah, it will trigger more fear. And then thank your brain for sharing and say, yes, I know you're scared and it's gonna be okay. Because then you create the space to take a look at the key thing, and that is, what are the thoughts, the stories that are driving this fear? And that's what I want to invite you to do right now. Pick a situation in your business or the one that you came in with for this workshop and get really clear on what is it there that is not working the way you want to. What I'm going to be doing here in just a moment is just always put the question up so that you see it as you reflect it. I want to take the next 15 to 20 minutes and give you a chance to really work through a series of reflection questions that will take you to what are some of the fundamental thoughts that are driving your emotions that are creating that doubt. Okay? Because if all you needed was more information from me, you could find it on the internet, right? If all we needed was information to be happy, to be healthy, to lose weight, to make more money, to have the relationship we wanted, we'd all be living in heaven because there's more information out there than you can ever find. I don't do this for insight. I do this for impact. And I believe most of the things I could tell you in the next half hour, you already know. You just haven't applied them yet. So instead, I want to create the space for you to look at the only information that matters and that you won't find on the internet. And that is, what's the program running in here? That cool with everyone? Yeah? You don't have to worry about taking any notes of the questions. I'll share a link with you at the end of this workshop where you can get the slides, where you can get a workbook if you want to work through this again, where I have another bonus video because there's something I wanted to share with you that won't fit in the hour, okay? And where you will also get the recording to this. So just concentrate on taking down notes on your own reflection. And then anything you need after, I can share with you. No worries about that. So let's start with, at the top of your page or on your screen, write down what's the current situation related to your business or money or your relationship, right? Whatever area you want to look at where you're dealing with that doubt and with something that isn't working the way you want it to. What is that situation? Describe it for yourself in a sentence or two. I want to ask you to share any of this. You're doing this for yourself. Excuse me. So what are you going to reflect on? What is that one thing in your business that isn't working the way you want it to, or any other part of your life? I'll tailor this to a reflection on where you're at in your business, but you can substitute this for any other part of your life. And if after the workshop you go and you do download, right, the slides and the workbook, you can go through this again with any sort of issue you're dealing with. And then, once you have that, right, what are you going to reflect on here in the next 15 minutes or so? Take a look at how long has this been going on? Was this weeks, months, years? Just get clear on that. And if you want to take a second, put in the chat for me, what are you dealing with? Something that is going on for weeks, for months, for years, just so I have a sense of what do we have in the room. Nothing right or wrong about it. Just give me a sense of what are we dealing with in the room. Not the issue itself, but how long has it been going on? What have we got? Years, months, okay. Good. Love it. Okay, months, years, excellent. So then you all came to play. I really appreciate that. And let me just really encourage you here. The deeper you go, I know I won't be giving you all that much time, but the deeper you go, the more you go to the parts that you feel uncomfortable really thinking about, the more you're going to get out of this. Okay? So really connect to this situation and really get present. Take a deep breath. Breathe into your heart, into your stomach, and check. What emotions, what feelings are you present to as you think about this situation? I don't want to put, words or feelings into you, but what is there? Is there, everything from frustration to excitement to it, really anything that comes up. But get real honest, get real clear about what are the emotions that come up for you when you think about this thing that's been going on for months or for years. And really connect to those for yourself and take note of any that you notice. And I'll give you a moment to do that, because remember, right? It's your emotions that determine your actions. We all think we make conscious decisions up here, rational decisions. But what we're really doing is rationalizing the emotional decision we already made. So get real clear on, in this situation, what are the emotions? What are the feelings that you're present to? The ones that are really driving your behavior. Because then from there, this model, thoughts, to emotions, to actions, to results, you can work it backwards. You know the result. That's the situation you started from, right? The thing that isn't working the way you want it to. You have a sense of what you're doing and what you're not doing. We already work back now to what are the emotions you're present to? And when you really connect it to those, when you make yourself vulnerable and open to the parts that maybe you usually ignore and rather not look at, it opens up the critical next step. And that is, for this to have been going on for such a long time, if you follow those emotions, if you follow those feelings, what thoughts are you connecting to that are playing in the background? Maybe loud, maybe quietly. Thoughts about money. Thoughts or stories you have about your business and its chances to succeed or to change the world or the impact you want to create. And not the thoughts, right, that are politically correct to think, but the thoughts that really, when you lie awake at night, they're keeping you awake. The thoughts that might trigger the doubt, the worry. And we all have those stories in three major categories: stories about ourselves, stories about other people, and stories about how the world works, which includes how relationships work, how money works, how business works, right? All those stories. So the emotions that you have related to the situation, follow those back. What's behind them? What are the maybe uncomfortable thoughts about your business, about yourself that are triggering those emotions? Give yourself a moment and allow yourself to take a look at what's really going on up here. What are all those voices behind closed doors saying about you, about your business, about your chances to succeed, about your ability to deliver? Maybe you even hear that, right? When I do this, I sometimes hear the voice of Mr. Perfect. Right? Yeah. And this is a safe space. I won't make any of you share this publicly, let alone on the recording. But the more you can get honest with yourself here, the more impactful the following steps can be. And for those of you who feel like, yeah, I know what's going on here and connected to something, you can already go take another look. And that is, how has this challenge really impacted you? This situation that's been going on for months or even for years, what is it really costing you? What's really the impact emotionally? Physically, maybe it's affected your health. Financially, if it's business related, chances are it's affected you financially. Socially, with respect to your relationships, or otherwise, there's probably some impact that you're very aware of. And then there might be some that when you take a real good look at the real cost you're paying for allowing this situation to be the way it is. When you feel a bit of resistance to really go there and look at it, I get it. That's what we usually avoid looking at, right? Why? Because our brains or our mind's main job is to what? Keep you alive, help you survive. How does it do that? One of the main ways it does that is try and keep you or try and get you to maintain the status quo. Why? Well, for your mind, that's very simple. What's familiar is safe. Even if it's not what you want. To your mind, if it didn't kill me yesterday, if it didn't kill me the day before, chances are it's not going to kill me today, and it's not going to kill me tomorrow. With anything that is unfamiliar, you can't be so sure, right? That's why every time you leave your comfort zone, the immediate response here, designed to keep you alive, is, who are you to go out there? Who do you think you are? Why would you go do that? And there's variations of that with the different saboteurs we have in our mind. But what your mind doesn't look at is, what is it costing you to stay in the status quo? Because your mind stopped evaluating the status quo at the moment it knew this is safe. So give yourself a chance here to go beyond that and really take a look at, what is the situation really costing you? Not just financially, but in terms of impact on all areas of your life. And then I'm going to take you one step further, and I promise we'll shift the energy in just a moment. Okay? Because I know this is not a comfortable place to be in. But trust me, feeling that pain, feeling that discomfort gives you a pretty good chance to activate the emotions you need to actually do something about it. Okay? So bear with me for one more question. And that is, you now took a look at the beliefs, the thoughts that keep you in this situation, right? The emotions they trigger, but also the real impact this is having on your business and on your life. What will your business and your life most likely look like a year from now if nothing changes in those beliefs and in those thoughts? Where are you headed? What's it going to cost you if you don't take action on it? If you don't change anything? Where are you headed? Get real honest with yourself. 12 months from now, if you don't do anything about this, if you don't actually change it, where are you going to be? Right. Chances are you're not too thrilled about that picture, are you? Okay. So some of you I can see on the camera, some of you I can't see. We're just gonna do this on the honor system. I have a second part to this reflection. I promise this will be much more empowering and much more fun than the first part felt like. But remember the 4 pillars I showed you? This bit about physical intelligence? I'm going to give you a little bit of something here that you can also take and apply to any other situation. Check your body posture, your energy level, everything right now. The few of you that I can see I successfully took you into those limiting negative beliefs about yourself. Your whole body is showing it. Okay? So we want to get into solution focus now. And to do that, we're going to use the power of your body, because what are emotions? Energy in motion. Yes, you can do the deep work that I do with my clients and going into the stories and learning all those things. And that is immensely powerful to transform your life going forward. But sometimes you simply don't have the time. Okay. What you can always do is shift your body, change your body, your physical energy, and thereby change your emotional state. And I'm going to demonstrate this to you right now. I'm going to ask you all we're just going to take half a minute, stand up, stretch a bit, move about, jump around. I mean it. I'm going to make myself into it really is about, I literally mean it, right? Now, if I wasn't on camera right now, I might drop and do a few push-ups or do a few pull-ups. If you're more into music, if you ever really find yourself stuck, procrastinating, avoiding something, put on your favorite music, dance it out for a song or two, right? Now, and just from this brief moment right now, just from shifting your body and now sitting up more straight, I see, right? Your facial muscles are changing, right? There's a bit more energy. Now take that, that energy into the next question. And that is, what would you need to be willing, just willing, not even really believing it yet, but willing to believe to get over what stands in the way? What is a belief about your business or about yourself that if you were willing to believe it, would really empower you to do something about the situation you're in? You look before at some of the stories about yourself and about your business that are keeping you there. What's an alternative belief, an alternative thought, if you were willing to believe it about yourself, about your business, that would give you the energy to go do something different? What's coming up, right? Remember, power posture, and just think about it. Now, one of the examples I had was that when I started building my coaching business, I found myself dabbling and avoiding it because somewhere hidden in here was the thought that I could either have a successful business or be present as a father with my children. You can see how this neither let me not actually be present when I was with them, because I was always worried about what I still had to do for my business. And when I was with my business, I somehow never really gave it my full attention either, because here I was worried about missing out on time with my children. What is a way more empowering belief or story about myself and about business that helped me to get to a very different place? It came from a very simple question my coach asked, and that was, well, how could you have both? It's as simple as I believe, or I change it to, if I'm willing to believe that I can run a successful coaching business and be a good father and present with my kids, all of a sudden, a lot of the whole things that are like a mountain before me didn't just come apart. It still took time, right, to restructure my day and to do things differently. But now I could go do something about it. That's what I mean by what kind of thought or belief about yourself, about your business, if you were willing, just willing to believe it, would help you to go do something about it. Everybody's got an idea? Something came up, right? If you look at some of your limiting beliefs, just turn them around. What would be more useful, more helpful? What would allow you to move in the direction that you want to move into? Got one? Yeah. And you'll have time probably after to go a little deeper on this, but take a look at that. Hold on to that thought. Put yourself right back into your power pose. And now, without too much thinking about it, jot down the first few things that come to mind next. And that is, if you were willing to believe this new thought, the idea that you just had, and then act in line with that new thought, what action would you take next? Write down the first thing that came to mind before you can judge it, before you give your imposter a chance to say, nah, right? Just write down whatever came up. And if you have 2 or 3 things that came up, write them down. What is a small thing or a bigger thing that you would do about this thing if you were willing to believe that you could? If you were willing to believe that no matter what, you're going to sort this out, that you can do this. I saw most of you take notes and write down a few things. In my experience, there might be other things that get triggered, but if you had one thing or if you had a couple of things, I want you to now take a minute, 90 seconds, and break it into something that is a small first step that without any ifs or buts about it, you are going to do in the next 24 hours. Right? If there's something in your business that you can't do in the next 24 hours, then break it down into what's the first step that you can definitely take care of in the next 24 hours. That you would pay me, wire me, oh no, let's do this differently, that you would wire Jason for his venture capital fund, 10,000 US, if you don't do it. Right? I'm looking for that kind of commitment. So you can make it as small as you want to be sure that you'd rather get it done in the next 24 hours than support Jason's venture capital fund with 10,000 USD. Everybody's got one?
I'm still rooting for everyone, by the way.
Okay. Now let me know. Jason's grinning, not good. Well, he didn't know this was coming, Scott. In his defense, I just made this up on the fly. Okay. Here's my point. Of course, the financial, and I'm not getting paid for this either. But of course, the financial incentive was tongue in cheek. But why am I asking you to do this? As I said before, I don't do this for insight. I do this for impact. And impact is all about taking action. You're spending an hour here with me. You've spent the last 25 minutes to go into uncomfortable territory, to now shift it. And here's what's going to happen inevitably after this workshop. You're going to go back into your busy day. You're going to get back into the habits you have. That's not your fault. That's just what's going to happen. And by tomorrow or the day after, this is a nice memory. And there's still this, oh, I wanted to do this and I was going to, by next week, it'll be gone. Unless you take at least a first small action, no matter what it is, no matter how small. But if you take action on it, what you're signaling to your mind is that it's okay to do this a little differently, right? Once you take action to it, you integrate this in a very different fashion than you would from just saying, oh, this is nice. Up until now, it wasn't pleasant for you. I get that. Not all that pleasurable to go into, right? That pit and then back out again. But so far, all the ideas you had are nice to have. Once you commit, once you take action, that's when you're actually doing something about it. That's when things really shift. So pick that one small thing and make a commitment to yourself if you wanted to Jason and to me, to really take that step. Because then once you took that step, there's the next step appearing, right? And the next step. So if you want to get a return on investment for your time that you're spending here with me today, make that commitment and do that thing in the next 24 hours. Because, as I said at some point before, we are all very consistent. Even the ones in this room who say, yeah, I start things and I don't finish them. No, you're all consistent with the habits you've built. So if your actions aren't supporting where you want to go, you need to back up all the way to what are the habits you've built and what are the stories and the beliefs you have about yourself, right, that are keeping those in place. And you've discovered some of those in the time that I invited you on the reflection. Now, at this point, if you say, oh, well, wait, what do you mean? We're going to move into Q&A here pretty soon, and this is almost over. Now, if you want to, for those of you who say, look, I like your style, I want to go deeper on this, and I'm ready to do the work on some of those stories I discovered here, even if I don't have them all fully lined out yet. Yes, I'm a coach. And I'm more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you. I'll share the link to my calendar. Book a time, we'll set a complimentary 45 minutes, 1 hour. Take a look at your situation, see what it is that you really want to do. And if what I do matches with what you want to do, we can talk about what working together looks like. At the very least, I'm happy to hold the space just for you to take a closer look and really get clear on that. That's the invitation. If you're not ready to go there, I'll share the link to with everyone as well, where you get the slides, where you get the workbook, where you get the bonus video, and you can go through this one more time with as much time as you want to. You can also apply this, right, to any situation that you're dealing and struggling with, right? I just ask that you do something with it, because that's how you shift. Some of that is in just taking action. Some of that is with someone you trust to go deep into the stories and the beliefs. And now, in a minute, I'll put the links in there. I've made you do a lot of work, but I was also doing a lot of the talking. And the reality is, what you get out of this time we have here together has almost nothing to do with what I've been telling you. Has almost everything to do with what you came here looking for, which is why I want to make sure that we spend the last 15 minutes in an open discussion, Q&A, answering any of the questions so that you can make sure you still take all the value from this that you came to get. Cool? All right, then let me thank you. Let me thank you already right here, right now, because I know towards the end, some have to run off and then, phone calls get in the way, for what I've seen from you. And that is actually putting your heads down and taking my invitation to go inwards and to reflect. And I would absolutely love it if you share with me tomorrow, what was the thing you committed to? Celebrate that you did it and tell me what came from it. Deal? All right, cool. So then we have a question already in here from Scott. Let me take a look. How can we create such a discomfort with the status quo that one has no choice but to change? Oh yeah, any tips or tricks? Love the question, Scott. So for those of you who want to, here's the link to my calendar, and I'll share the other link with you in a second. Yes. Besides paying Jason. I love it. So here's what I've shown you, right, in the time that we spent together, Scott. One is when I took you into really looking at the impact it has emotionally, financially, physically, all of that, right? Often we simply ignore that, and our brain, our mind isn't ever going to look at what does the status quo really cost me. So that part of the exercise is critical to fuel change and transformation, right? How does your brain respond? How does your brain decide what is threatening your survival and what isn't? You already know the answer. Your brain only knows two things: pain and Exactly, pleasure, right? And so pleasure is good, pain is bad. You don't want to be stuck in the status quo? Attach a boatload of pain to it. Number one. Number two, we all love to play games. You just got to make them real. You don't want to pay Jason 10,000 for not doing it? Get it. Done. It was a joke. All right. But do set up incentives. You know, if you're somebody who responds well to that, check two things there, right? Do you respond better, Scott, to pain? As in, you know, one of the tricks that I know some of my clients apply is, oh, actually, this is where the idea with Jason came from, almost. And that is, pick a charity or a cause that you hate, absolutely hate, and commit to making a donation to them if you don't live up to your doing what you said you've done. If you don't respond well to pain, then pick something that you get to reward yourself for, right? Support a cause of your choice or something else. Take yourself, take your partner out for dinner, whatever, right? There's something to play around with, but use the most basic principle of how your mind decides whether you're going to survive or not: pain and pleasure. And then one last thing on that, tricks and tips. Have compassion for yourself. Some of the habits we're talking about here, like my Mr. Perfect, I built that over well over 3 decades, if you don't count the early years where I wasn't really conscious. That's a lot of repetition on that same neural pathway. That is why your autopilot is hammering down that thing at 60 miles an hour like it's a 4-lane highway. Because neurons, right, that fire together, right, go together. Now the work you're looking at is building a new road, a new pathway, expanding that into a 4-lane highway for your autopilot to eventually move on that. But you can't tear up the other one. You can't just disconnect it. It's always still there. It's going to get triggered. You're going to find yourself back on that. So a lot of that is also simply, Scott, about really doing the work around what are the beliefs and how can you upgrade them. Helpful, Scott? I see a lot of this in the workplace. Managing people past it is an uphill. Yes, it absolutely is. If it's also about how can you support others in this, then let me add one more to it. Behind every fear is what? A desire. And behind whatever resistance your employees are putting up to change, to taking on more responsibility, to learning, to whatever else, is also a desire, right? So if this isn't just about you, if it's about them, have the conversation with them. What motivates them? What is it going to take for them to, right? But also, what is it that they truly desire? What's behind it? You see the resistance, and that's often what you're fighting against. Get into the dialogue of, okay, what are you here to do? Right? If this isn't what you want, okay, what is it that you do want? And see how that aligns. And then we're getting, of course, now we've left self-leadership though and stepped into leadership, which is a whole nother 3-day intensive workshop. All right. But yeah, when it is about others, realize that. And realize one other thing. Everybody is driven by a survival brain. Everybody is looking for what could go wrong. Everybody is afraid to fail. Everybody has those doubts. And you as a leader, as the owner of the company, acknowledging that, being vulnerable and sharing your own, and giving your people the space to share theirs, concerns and doubts, might also create a space where everyone together can work towards that shared vision and creating something bigger. Right? And just like you are dealing with the saboteurs in your head, quite often when you're dealing with other people, you're not actually dealing with the person behind it. You're dealing with their saboteurs, with their imposter, with their hyperachiever, with their pleaser who is worried that, you know, somebody might reject them, with their avoider, which is a learned mechanism to not just avoid, not really avoid the work. It's not that they're lazy. It's avoiding the pain that is associated to it. Okay. One of the things I do with my clients and small groups as well as one-on-one is go deep into how do you take charge of your own voices so that you can interact way more impactfully with everyone else. Get out of your own way first. Other questions? Anything else I can help you with? And I did love the question and the follow-up, Scott. Thank you for that. Now, I also promised a link to, and I guess, Jason, you'll share this with everyone after as well, right? But here's also the link to the page where you can just get the slides, the workbook, and the bonus video I promised you on how to take action even when you don't feel like it. I think it's about 10 minutes or so. So it's not like it's a whole hour of your time to invest. But
the first action is to click the link.
How do you deal with judgmental people? Okay. How do you deal with judgmental people who, instead of helping you get better through kind words, tend to spread negativity with their attitude? I would give a twofold answer. The first one, Michaela, thank you for the question, is do the work to take care of those voices that hurt you the most. And that's not other people. That's the dialogue you allow in here, right? And knowing that, consider that the people who criticize you are the same way in that the harshest criticism, they usually reserve for themselves. That might help to give this a bit of compassion. The way I often say is hurt people, hurt people. Okay, it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't matter whether it's your partner, your kid, a coworker, a friend, or your enemy. For better or worse, it has nothing to do with you. Likewise, when they praise you, it often has nothing to do with you either. But for now, we'll just focus on the fact that, right? It's usually that. And when you realize that, you can put this where that belongs. What do you do with, feedback is a gift. Absolutely. What do you do with the gift of your mother-in-law that is fugly and you don't know what to do with? You take it, you say thank you. And once she leaves, you decide what to do with it. And if you trash it, you trash it. It doesn't matter, right? Feedback is a gift. Treat it that way. You don't have to keep it. Now, that is easier said than done. But the key thing really is, it's not about you. And just like I hope what you're taking from our time here is you can have that dialogue with your own negative talk. You can have it. I would usually not do it with the person in front of you though. Not smile, say thank you. Because as much as you want to, and as much as you want them to like you, you can't make them. And it's not worth your time. The other thing is though, once you know, and not just here telling yourself, but really know here, that despite all that self-doubt and all that negative self-talk that's going on in here, you deserve to have people around you who support you, who cheer you on. You set your boundaries differently. Somebody who has negativity once in a while, you might tolerate that for other things you get out of the relationship. But if it's a pattern and you don't want to deal with it, distance yourself. If it's family, do you need to cut them out of your life? No, you probably put some other boundaries around that. Like my parents live 6 hours away and there's a reason for that. I love it when I see them, and after 3 days, it's, right? If they're not family, consider that it's a story about what relationships are, what loyalty is, what you owe them, any one of those, right? When we talked about beliefs about how the world works, that includes beliefs about how relationships work, what you should do, right? Whenever you catch yourself thinking, I should, catch it. That's one of those saboteur voices. I should, says who? According to the book of what? And when you caught it, step back and say, okay, what do I choose to? What do I want to? What do I commit to? Because that's stepping into your power. Sometimes you might just tell them off. Sometimes you might just let it slide and go something else. That depends on the person and on the situation. But the most important thing is, don't fight it. Right? Helpful? Good. And if you struggle with that a lot, then take a look at what that pleaser voice is, and let's have a conversation about how to tone it back down. Right? Understand that, for example, the pleaser, if I'll add this for just one more minute, all of those are learned defense mechanisms, right? Things that try and keep us from harm, from emotional pain, often learned in early childhood. And I always liken it this way. When you break your arm as a child, like my daughter just did 2 weeks ago, you have a cast for 4 or 5 weeks. Then you have your physical therapy. And by the time you're 12, you forgot all about it. Emotional wounds, we also put a cast around them. We just don't know that. And nobody ever teaches us how to take this cast back off. So pleasing other people is a protective mechanism against rejection or against being left or any of that, right? The hyperachiever, the strong drive to accomplish something, is often looking for, whatever we were missing. You don't want to completely get rid of that. Of course, a certain drive is healthy, but it becomes dysfunctional when you do it in order to get something else. Yeah, when you burn the candle from both ends in a futile desire to get something that more money, a bigger company is never going to give you. If you find yourself struggling with personal boundaries or boundaries in relationships, there's a deeply rooted fear of rejection or of being left. But why is it that you chose that defense mechanism? Because you're really good at reading other people. You're really good at figuring out what they need and what they want. You have a strong value on harmony. We're not going to get rid of that. You just want to tone it down to the level where it's productive for the relationship and still enables you to set healthy boundaries around it. That is the work of taking charge of your internal boardroom. To tell them to join the team, sit down, or shut the fuck up. But more than likely, right now it's your inner critic running those boardroom meetings. And that's what makes them unproductive. When you take charge of that boardroom, you can draw on all of those strengths that you already have. Are they going to get triggered? Yeah. Do I still deal with Mr. Perfect? More often than I care to admit. Because here I am, a coach teaching others about how to take charge of them. There's no easy path. There is no silver bullet. But that deep work, trust me, is more than worth it for yourself, for the team that you're building, for your customers, and for all the relationships in your life. Are you going to cut us off, Jason? I'm happy to take more questions if you have them. You're welcome to connect with me. If you get the workbook and everything, it has my contact information as well. I'm happy to continue the conversation anywhere and anytime. Just reach out, let me know. And I would really love for you to share with me either right here or after. What is the key thing you took from this? And really, what are you committed to? What have you done about it? And what did you create from it? And then if you want to go deeper, more than happy to have the conversation. Love the energy, love the questions. That tells me you were engaged. And that's really what I'm here for. So thanks so much for spending your lunch break with us. And I'll let Jason close this out.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. This was, amazing experience for everyone here, and appreciate all the engagement and participation throughout. So yeah, I'll share, I'll save the chat here, and then I can share the links and the recording in a follow-up email, and definitely feel free to connect with Sebastian directly as well for, all of his offers on sharing everything you took away today, on taking advantage of the workshops and the other opportunities we'll be sending out the links to. And yeah, thanks again for joining in and being part of our Startup Grind chat today.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much. Good